Ancient strategy, modern sales, one usable line per episode.
Last time, set it up, let it move. Today, the hidden architecture of agreement, and why every yes you've ever heard was built long before the question was asked. I closed a big deal last month. When I looked back at how it happened, something surprised me. The moment the prospect said yes, it felt inevitable. Not forced, not dramatic, just obvious, like the whole conversation had been leading there all along.
It had been.
But I didn't plan it that way. Or did I? When I traced back every conversation, every email, every small agreement, I saw a pattern. A structure I hadn't consciously built. By the end of this episode, you'll see that same structure, and learn how to build it deliberately every time. My old belief, agreement comes from persuasion. You present well enough, handle objections well enough, and eventually the prospect agrees. It's a skill of the moment, a performance.
And what did experience teach you?
The best closers don't perform. They architect. By the time they ask for the commitment, the prospect has already said yes a dozen times. Small agreements, micro commitments, each one building on the last. The final yes wasn't a decision. It was a confirmation.
You've described architecture.
Architecture.
A building doesn't stand because of the paint. It stands because of the foundation, the beams, the load-bearing walls. Agreement works the same way. The surface, your pitch, your deck, your closing line, that's paint. The structure underneath, the sequence of small agreements, the shared understanding, the aligned expectations, that's what holds the yes together. Sun Tzu described this principle in terms of terrain. De Xin Zhe, Bing Zhi Zhu Yi, terrain is an aid to the army.
Terrain is an aid, not the army itself, but what supports it.
He continued, Liao Di Ji Sheng, Ji Xian Yi Yuan Jin, Shang Jiang Ji Dao Yi, to estimate the enemy, to control victory, to calculate dangers and distances. This is the way of the superior general. The superior general doesn't just fight well. He reads the ground. He builds advantages into the terrain itself. By the time the battle starts, the outcome is already shaped. Hold that image, we'll come back to it.
So the general wins not by fighting harder at the moment of battle, but by shaping the ground before the battle begins.
The ground determines the outcome. Shape the ground, shape the outcome. In sales, the ground is the sequence of conversations, the accumulation of agreements, the framework within which the decision is made. Shape that, and the decision shapes itself.
And in a real deal, what does this architecture look like?
It has 3 layers. Miss any one, and the structure collapses.
What's the first layer?
The foundation, shared problem definition. Before anything else, you and the prospect must agree on what the problem actually is. Not your version of their problem, their version, in their words. When both sides describe the problem the same way, you're standing on the same ground.
And most salespeople skip this.
Most salespeople assume it. They hear a surface complaint and jump to their solution. But the prospect hasn't articulated the real problem yet. Without shared problem definition, every solution feels premature. Every proposal feels like someone else's answer to a question they didn't ask.
What's the second layer?
The frame, agreed criteria. How will the prospect decide? What matters most? What's non-negotiable? What's nice to have? When you help them define their own criteria, you're building the frame within which your solution fits. Not by manipulating the criteria, by making them explicit. Hidden criteria kill deals. Visible criteria close them.
Because when the criteria are clear, and your solution matches, saying yes is logical.
It's not just logical, it's structured. They can explain their yes to anyone who asks. The CFO, the board, their team. A structured yes survives scrutiny. An emotional yes collapses under it.
And the third layer?
The sequence, progressive commitment. Not one big yes, A series of small ones. Do we agree this is the core problem? Yes. Do these criteria reflect what matters most? Yes. Does this timeline work for your team? Yes. Each small yes raises the psychological cost of saying no. Not through manipulation, through consistency. People honor their own commitments. 3 layers. Shared problem, agreed criteria, progressive commitment. That's the architecture. When all 3 are in place, the final yes is just the roof on a building that's already standing.
So the pattern I keep seeing: salespeople pitch before defining the problem. Propose before agreeing on criteria. Ask for the big commitment without building small ones first. And then wonder why the prospect hesitates.
They're asking someone to live in a building with no foundation.
When the architecture is missing, even a great offer feels risky.
So how do you build this architecture deliberately?
That's exactly what I need.
3 tools. Each one builds 1 layer. Tool 1, the mirror summary. At the end of each discovery conversation, reflect back what you heard. So the core problem is X. It's costing you Y and you need it solved by Z. Am I getting that right? When they say yes to your summary, you've built the foundation together. Shared problem definition. Confirmed. Locked in.
Tool 2.
The criteria conversation. Before proposing, ask, what will you use to evaluate the options? Then help them organize it. It sounds like security is non-negotiable, integration speed matters most, and price is secondary. Is that accurate? When they confirm, the frame is built. Your proposal fills the frame. It doesn't fight it.
And the third?
The micro-agreement chain. Build small yeses into every interaction. Does this approach make sense so far? Would this timeline work for your team? Is this the right group to make this decision? Each yes is a brick. By the time you ask for the final commitment, the wall is already built. The last brick is obvious. Now, the one line for this episode.
Let's hear it.
Structure creates agreement.
That's it. Clean.
When you're about to ask for the close, pause. Have I built the structure? Is the problem shared? Are the criteria clear? Have they been saying yes along the way? If the architecture is there, ask. If it's not, build it first. The close is just the last brick.
So the line is a blueprint check.
A blueprint check. Not am I persuasive enough, but is the structure sound? The generals who won didn't just fight. They shaped the terrain. Then the battle was already decided. 2 more tools. Before any proposal, write down the 3 layers. What's the shared problem, in their words? What are the agreed criteria? How many small yeses have they given? If you can't write all 3, you're not ready to propose. You're ready to build.
You're making it visible. And the second tool?
Ask the prospect. If we solve problem X according to criteria Y with timeline Z, is there any reason this wouldn't move forward? You're testing the architecture. If they say no, the structure is sound. Propose. If they say, well, actually, you've found a missing layer. Build it before you ask.
3 tools. Structure creates agreement. The 3-layer check. And, is there any reason this wouldn't move forward? All about building before asking.
Let's lock them in.
Here's my takeaway. Agreement isn't a moment. It's an architecture. Shared problem definition is the foundation. Agreed criteria are the frame. Progressive commitment is the structure. Build all 3, and the final yes is just the roof.
Keep going.
Sun Tzu said terrain is an aid to the army. The superior general reads the ground and builds advantages into it. In sales, the ground is the sequence of small agreements. Shape the ground, shape the decision. The close isn't a performance. It's a confirmation. The principle: build the architecture before asking for the commitment. Structure creates agreement.
Drill zone. Come back here before your next closing conversation. You're about to send a proposal. Big deal. High stakes. Your instinct says, Make the pitch perfect. Polish the deck. Nail the closing line. What do you tell yourself?
Structure creates agreement.
Again, like you've built 100 architectures and watched them hold.
Structure creates agreement.
Good. Now the layer check.
Shared problem, agreed criteria, progressive commitment.
And the architecture test.
Is there any reason this wouldn't move forward?
The sequence. Urge to close hits. Reset. Structure creates agreement. Check. Shared problem, agreed criteria, progressive commitment. Test. Is there any reason this wouldn't move forward? Don't paint the building. Build the foundation.
Reset. Check. Test.
This week's test. Pick your next proposal. Before you send it, write down the 3 layers. The shared problem in their words. The agreed criteria, every small yes they've given. If a layer is missing, that's your next conversation.
And if all 3 are there?
Then propose with confidence. The architecture is sound. The yes will hold. It will survive the CFO's questions. It will survive the board review. Because it's built on structure, not persuasion.
Which tool should I try first?
Whichever strengthens your next deal. A. Structure creates agreement. B. Write the 3 layers before proposing. Or C. Is there any reason this wouldn't move forward? Drop your pick in the comments. I read every one.
What's next?
The one sentence that removes pressure, and how a single phrase can change the entire dynamic of a negotiation. We're starting a new block. Same calm tone, one usable line.
Ancient strategy, modern sales, one usable line per episode.